Welcome to another episode of Dad's Old Car. In this episode I'm heading off to Lower Hutt. The Flathead V8 people had their national event down there last weekend, and I went down and spoke to the people who organised it, and I had a chat to one or two of the members about their particular V8s. And before we start, this coming weekend there's the Classic and Hot Rod event on at Kumeu. It's this weekend. And on the 4th, 5th and 6th of February, they're having the wheels at Wairarapa. So if you're in the Wairarapa, particularly Carterton, that's where they're having it, pop in and enjoy what they have to offer. So let's join Brian, the organiser of the Flathead V8 people. With me is Brian, and Brian, welcome to our little show.
Thanks, Bill.
And
pleasure.
Behind us here we've got Flathead V8s, and just about every year is represented at 1952 to 55 or 54?
1932 to 54.
32 to 54, that's a lot of Flathead V8s they made.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. All assembled here in the Wellington.
Oh really?
Yeah, we went out to the Wellington Assembly building today and had a look at that.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Great run.
And it's still there?
It's still there, yeah.
Wow.
The Ford sign along the front has disappeared over the years, but it's no longer used as an assembly plant.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Most of these cars would have been assembled there, I'd say, back in the day.
Yeah. We're at the Angus Hotel here in Lower Hutt, and you've got about how many cars? 40, 30?
35.
35 cars?
Yeah.
And they're all members of your Flathead Club, is that what you call it?
Yeah, there's a northern section which is North Island based, and there's a South Island based club, and every 3 years we have the national meet. It's in the North Island, and then 3 years later it's in the South Island, and then back to the North Island another 3 years later.
So if you bought a nice Flathead V8, you've got 3 years to get it looking good, to go off to the next one.
Yeah, virtually, yeah. In my case, it took me 5 years to get mine on the road.
Oh, okay.
But I was working and I only had weekends to work on it. But then I had a vintage car cup rally down in Dunedin. It came from Balclutha. So the last year we spent all my weekends virtually working on it to get it so I could take it back to the previous
And yours
owner.
was a 50 something?
54.
54, that's the last one.
That's the last of the Flatheads, yeah.
So what happened after the Flatheads? What did they do? That they make it overhead valves?
Overhead valves, yeah.
That would have made a difference. Maybe.
Yeah, well, these are the first V8s.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
For Henry Ford, and yeah, they go well. Okay.
Yeah. And so to be a member of your club, what do we need to do? Just go to your website? Have you got a website?
Yeah, there's a website, and just go on there or email the secretary or treasurer. My wife's actually the treasurer, and she'll send out the papers, send in the form back, and
you're in business.
Paying the $40. That's all it is to become a member.
So while the 3 years is sort of waiting for the next national, do you have sort of regional outings on a monthly basis, something like that?
Yeah, generally on once a month there's a area run somewhere. Auckland has their area, the Waikato, there's a branch over in Napier, and there's also one here in the Wellington region.
Oh, okay.
So each region does their own monthly run. Yeah.
So they all get on like a house on fire, that's great.
Yeah. Well, you only have to talk to the Americans here today and they just love it. They only come over here for the friendship and the comradeship and to look at the cars, and they love it.
There's certainly plenty of nice cars to look at, that's for sure.
Yeah, thanks.
Our program's called Dad's Old Car, and I'm absolutely sure that a lot of dads would have had one of these as the family car back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to own a 38 four-door sedan, and the stories I used to hear from older generation, not necessarily my generation, but the stories that used to come out of their history of what they did in that 38, or I knew people that had a 38, or
yeah, right.
It's just amazing, you know.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, I was just talking to a fellow who's got a coupe back there, and there was mum and dad, and then the sister stood on a box behind mum, and he was the baby, so he was up on the parcel rack, and off they went to town.
Yeah. No, it's amazing the stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good on you, mate. There's the email address. Look it up. Give these guys a call if you've got a V8 or interested in a V8. There's certainly quite a number around the country for sale, that's for sure. So, yeah, look forward to seeing you at this club.
Yeah, thanks, Bill.
Yep, good on you,
Very
Brian.
much appreciated.
There you
Come
go.
on. Thank you.
With me is Neil, and Neil, you've owned this for a very, very long time. 1937 Flathead V8 coupe. Is that correct?
I've had it 35 years.
35 years.
Yes.
And you've driven it almost every day
Well,
in that time?
I tell you what, it's been round the South Island many times. We used to do it every 2 years, and then at one time we were in Invercargill 1 week, came back to Wellington, changed the oil, and we were in North Auckland the next week.
Wow.
And it's probably the most travelled V8 in the country there, you know.
So 35 years ago, what made you buy it, or did you inherit it, or?
Yeah, what happened, I was restoring, I had a Ford, a 48 Ford, I've still got it, and my wife was driving it and she got chased by some guy, followed around and said, what about joining our car club? So she said, I'll see my husband. So she came home and told me, and I said, oh yeah, we'll go along. So we went along to a club night, this early American car club. And then with the 48 I thought, oh, if I join a car club I better start doing some work on it then. And I pulled it to bits, and I was that long working on it, I thought, oh, I need a car in the meantime. So I heard this was for sale, and it was been for sale in the paper. And so I went and had a look at it. It wasn't too far away from where we lived, and I put an offer on it, and they said, oh no. So I said, I've got cash, I'll pay you cash on Monday. So on Sunday I rang up and they said, you're still serious? I said, yeah, it's yours.
Fair enough.
So I paid $11,000 for it. And I don't know what it's worth today, but it's worth a lot more than that.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah.
I've done a lot of work to it mechanically.
Sure. Yes.
And
you're a mechanic?
I was.
Oh, right.
I was originally a mechanic. I was brought up on V8s.
Oh,
I don't know anything about modern cars with electronics, but I can fix old Ford V8s.
Yeah,
You know,
good on you.
do anything on them.
I just noticed that the heads on this are they blue? Or are they green? Does that mean anything?
Probably blue. It
Yeah.
doesn't really
Doesn't mean
really
much at
make
all.
a lot of difference.
Just the colour of the time when it went out of the factory.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, because I've done the motor, done the gearbox, had the back end out, because bearings and these V8s, the back housings wear in the bottom
Oh,
of
right,
them,
right.
bearings. So you got to maintain them mechanically to keep them going.
Sure.
You know, and they've got to be reliable, because some of these guys have travelled a long distance. It's no good having cars that break down on the way. You know, they've got to be reliable, and you've got to keep them up to scratch too.
Sure. What did your family have when you were a boy? Or if they had anything?
Hudson Super 6 and a Ford V8.
Hudson Super 6.
My father had a Ford V8, and then he went crazy. Then he bought a Wolseley.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we just talked about Wolseleys in our last show. They're a flash car in their time.
690.
Yeah.
Wolseleys. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they were. You don't see too many around now.
No. Now, you were telling me before you raced these.
Yeah, I raced
Is that racing like on a racetrack, or on hill climbs, or dirt tracks?
See, there was a lot of gravel hill climbs in those days. We had them everywhere, Wallisville Hill, Judgeford, all around the place. So I raced in hill climbs, and beach races were a big thing too.
Right.
I raced on beaches at low tide, and that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. we had a lot of fun when we were young. We grew up with old cars and then the boats. Yeah.
Yeah, you're racing boats, you were telling me that. That
Yeah.
must have been exciting on lakes and rivers. And were they jet
Yeah,
boats or
lakes.
outboard motors?
Lakes, rivers, harbours. Yeah, and we used to do a circuit every Christmas. There'd be a circuit. We would start up in Wakatani and then go to Carverell, Blue Lake,
Oh, right.
Karapiro, work
Yeah,
our way
yeah.
across the island. And then we went south. Oh, we had a lot of fun. The family loved it too.
Yeah,
you know, carting kids around in a tent.
As you did.
That's the way it was in those
Yeah,
days.
absolutely,
you
it
know.
was.
Yeah.
So the grill on this is just, there's no other grill, like this is just
Yeah.
specific to 1937.
What happened in 37, like I said, it's the first one that they made a full steel roof.
Oh,
They
okay.
could press a steel roof.
Yep.
And this was designed after the 1936 Lincoln with the headlights and the guards.
I'm just looking at,
Quite different than the 36 model
sure.
car.
I'm just looking at the bulbous light, you know, the
Yes.
the
Yeah.
lens there.
Very similar to a 1936 Lincoln. It was more modern looking,
Right.
and yeah,
And so they pressed this glass. How did they get it looking like this?
I don't know how they made it.
Oh, no.
Yes,
And anyway, there's lots of flute along the side here for air to get into and the front, so it's a good amount of air gets across that V8.
yes. See, most of the 37s now have been restored. Yes, 37 was more modern design than the previous years.
And each year although they look the same, do they have the same components, or they just sort of made a 38 out of a 37 with a few little minor changes, or how does that work?
Well, see, this model now has two windscreens,
Yes.
whereas the cars before that they could only make one single
really?
flat windscreen.
Oh,
And but it was basically the same 85 horse motor. The only difference was they changed the water pump to the bottom of the motor because it was more efficient than having them in the cylinder heads.
sure. When you tune these things, somebody says you can put a 2 shilling piece on the engine, and it just sits there. It doesn't. No.
Oh, I don't know. That's what they used to say, but
Yeah,
I don't know whether that was right or not.
No.
You know. Yeah, they are pretty smooth because they're a short stroke V8 motor, whereas
Yes.
the older motors were 6-cylinder and a longer stroke.
Right. Now, just finally, when I was a boy, I had the Elvis Presley haircut and a little curly bit out
Yeah.
the front there. And when the boys who had these things had a girl right here.
Yeah,
Did it ever happen to you?
yeah. The girls had bobby socks.
That's right.
Yeah, the guys had the tight
Tight pants.
black pants, and yeah, that was the era. Well, rock and roll.
Rock and roll. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, they were the days. Yeah, those polka dot skirts the girls wore.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. I wrote songs about polka dot skirts and things like that. Yeah.
Well, this is going back in a.
Well, there's a little bit. Yeah. Anyway.
Remembering all that.
Yeah. Anyway, Neil, thank you so much. With me is Karen, and Karen, you're one of the few lady owners of a classic car that I know.
Oh, really?
And
I don't know what they're missing out on.
and this is a 1957, 56?
54.
54.
1954 Ford Custom.
That's
line.
right. And this is the Flathead V8 Club, so I guess this has got to have a
It's
Flathead
got a
V8.
side valve in it.
Side
yes,
valve,
flathead.
yes.
Yep.
And so next year they changed all that and the overhead valve V8.
Yeah. So it's got an 8VA motor in it.
Yes. So it's quite special.
Yes, very special. Yeah.
Some people have the first, some people have the last.
I've got the last
Yes.
of the flatheads.
So tell me, why a car like this?
Why a car like this? Well, I've been in the early Ford V8 Club in the South Island since it's first started, and I was into side valve Ford V8s, and but I didn't have a sedan, and then we ended up having a daughter, so I required a slightly bigger car than a wee 38 pickup, and which my partner had, Calvin, and so he and I bought this car together.
Oh. And this is your hobby,
This
I
is my
suppose.
hobby. Yes, I love this cars. Yeah,
And the column change, I mean, not everybody knows what that is
no
these
problem.
days.
Yeah,
No,
I
is
was
it
taught with
three
column
or
change.
two? Three, yeah.
Yeah.
Three on the tree,
Three
as they
forward
say.
trees, for forward gears. Yeah.
Yes. So, did your family have V8s
Only
earlier than you?
dare I say it, chefs. They had a chef.
Oh,
in
okay.
the 50s. Yeah.
And you all piled into that? And
Yeah, we all 8 kids piled into that.
Really?
Yeah.
So there's mum, dad, couple of kids, and the rest of you in the back.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort yourselves out.
Yeah,
and not too much
totally.
over there yet.
Yeah, mostly no seatbelts in those days.
So you would have gone to the beach, to the pictures, all those sorts
Yeah,
of...
picnics,
Yeah.
the river.
Did you live where, in Christchurch?
In Christchurch, I was brought up in Christchurch. I live in Christchurch. Yeah.
Your daughter, she likes this car?
Yeah. She's more into the 90s cars and drifting and all that, but she comes along on rallies with me and enjoys it, which is great.
Wonderful. So as I said, you're the only woman owner of a classic car that I know. I'm sure there's
Yeah,
plenty
there
more
are
out
definitely
there.
others, yes,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So what about this is special for you?
We've had it since 2006. I like the car. It's easy to go. It goes well on the open road. No power steering, but that's fine. I've got strong muscles.
Big steering wheel.
Big steering wheel. Yeah. So it's just a nice car to drive. Yeah.
Excellent.
And it's very tidy and hasn't been altered.
Do you have a normal car?
I've got a Ford Territory. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So this has never towed anything, has it? Do you know?
Not that I know of, but it might
No.
have. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair
Before
enough.
me, a chap in Dunedin owned it, and he's called Tommy Thompson, and we bought it off him. But it was originally sold by Alexandra Motors down in Alexandra.
Oh, so it's New
And
Zealand new.
Yeah, it was New Zealand new, and it was sold into Ophir, which is a tiny little Central Otago town.
I know where Ophir is.
Yeah, so the resident there was the first owner.
Yeah, they have an excellent pub in the town next door. We've stayed there many times on our four-wheel drive treks that we do.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So it's Central Otago new Ford V8, sold in April 1955.
What was your first car? Did you
My
have?
first car was a little Morris Minor, which was the low lights. I'm not too sure what year it was, but it was very early. Yeah, so
You were king of the road that day, were you?
I was.
And
Yeah.
my wife had a Mori
Yeah.
as well. That was
Yeah,
her first
yeah, I
car.
bought-
Tomato red it was.
Okay. Yeah, mine was blue. I bought it off my brother. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh well, thank you very, very much, Karen, and
No problems.
you enjoy
Thank
your
you very much.
your nationals. Is that what they are? We're having nationals.
Yes, the early Ford V8 Club Nationals. Yeah, we
Excellent.
do them every 3 years. North Island, South Island. Takes a
Excellent.
turn. Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank
Oh,
you, Bill.
good on you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Bill.
With me is Graham, and Graham, you've got this 1932 Ford. Maybe tell us a little bit about it. I understand that your father started life with this, or it started life with your father.
Yes, my father bought this in the 1930s,
Really?
and it was still our family car when he died in 1954.
Wow.
So it's been in the family most of its life. It's a Canadian three-window coupe, or deluxe coupe they are, Preston, Canada. The motor is a Walkerville motor. The Walkerville's a suburb of Windsor, which is a city on next to the Rouge River in Canada. The body was pressed by the Canadian Top and Body Corporation, Tilbury, Ontario. It's 694, the body number, out of 812 pressed that year.
So
So
not
it's
many.
a very low production run.
Yeah, wow.
I believe the bodies are slightly different to the American deluxe coupes.
I've just got a canvas roof, and I was talking to somebody yesterday. It was about 1936 or 37 before they pressed the steel roof.
Yes,
Previously
they've all got the
they-
canvas top.
Yeah.
Up until 1936. In 1937 they had the technology to press a dome, full dome steel roof.
right. Wow.
Yep.
When you were going to town in this with your father, your sister, and mum and dad
And brother,
and brother,
yes.
what was the arrangement to get you all in there?
Dad drove, Mum sat in the passenger seat, my sister sat between them, my father stood up behind her, because we were only kids, and I laid across by the back window.
And off to town you went.
Off to town we went.
Well,
Yes,
this is a original condition. I mean,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
sort of hats off for keeping it original.
yes,
And I see a lot of this grill on the hot rods.
yes. A lot of them are reproduction.
Yeah, that's what I
You can buy the 32 grill. The hot rod people love that grill.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's of all the grills that Ford did in the 30s, I think that's the outstanding one. Myself,
Yes.
personally.
Yes.
Yeah. Can we have a look at this
No,
engine?
yes, we can have a look at the engine. Yes. Oh, we're very lucky. My dad bought a car. He bought the car before he was married, when he was still a bachelor. It's been in the family since then. And Mum and Dad got married in 1939. He's long gone. Mum's long gone, and the older sister's gone now. And yeah.
So
Mum, he died in 54, as I said. Mum bought a Morris Oxford in 55 and parked this car in the shed for us boys to learn to drive in. And I've been driving this since I was probably about 10 or 11 years old.
Good God, really?
Learned to drive in it. Used to take it to school now and again when I was in the 5th form once I got licence.
Did you get your license in it?
No, I got it in the Morris Oxford.
Oh, okay.
My brother got his licence in it. Then in the 60s we were going out shearing and fencing and taking this car, and its family name was Old Jalopy.
Of course.
You take jalopy everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the name back then, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was just
Yes.
a wreck, a jalopy. Other names spring
It's still
to
got the
mind.
original 32 motor in it.
Have you done anything to that motor? Or
It
just,
got reconditioned about 1967. We stripped the timing gear.
Oh,
So we took the motor out and fully reconditioned it. Then it sat by the car in the shed for 42 years. We're full of oil, and I turned it out, pulled over the crank handle now and again to keep it free. Then I got married, my brother got married, and the car came into my name. Then my eldest daughter said, "Oh, I'm getting married, Dad, and I want Granddad's car going for the wedding." So a mechanic and I dropped the motor in and got it going. We had it going for the wedding, and it's been going ever since. It took another 2 years from then to get it actually legal and back on the road again.
right. So
I put indicators on it, but I want to make them a bit bigger, you know. But what I found when it went back on the road after driving it in the 1960s to 2014, the speed of the traffic is so much faster. But it can keep up with the traffic. It's not a problem. And the lights are very dim. We drove
that's 6 volt, is it?
6 volt,
Yeah.
yes, but we used to drive at night time all the time. No trouble at all back in the 60s. We had a horse float from Levin down to Methven. We got the 6 o'clock sailing on the Aramoana, that would be about 1964. Drove all night down to Methven with the horse float on, the lights were bright, but you'd hardly be able to see where you're going now. But the other cars coming ahead of you, coming towards you, seem to outshine them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, previous to this, they had acetylene, you know, you sort of like the...
Oh, that's going back a long way before
back
this.
in the
Yeah.
teens, and, you know,
Yes.
when they started cars.
Yes.
How are we going to sort of make out a system where we can see where we're going? I know.
Yes.
Acetylene.
Now the lights are the same as it's always been, but they've
Yeah.
got brighter over the years.
The little
Yeah, they-
park lights back here, are they always...
Yep, they go.
Yeah.
Everything's on the steering column.
I was talking to John
the
yesterday.
piece down there,
Right.
someone said, "Is that a power steering thing or something?" I said, "No, that's your light switch on the end of the steering box."
Good.
Yeah, that screen opens up,
Yeah, of course it does.
the back window rolls down.
Does it really?
Yes. You can open the cowl vent here.
Yep.
And get a breeze going through, down
Back
by your
win-
knees and
yep.
back out the back window.
So it's air conditioned.
Air conditioned, yes. Temperature of the day, yes.
Where did they put it together? In New
Courtney
Zealand?
Place in Wellington.
Oh, okay. Had a bit of a factory there.
It was built in November 32. Came out here on a steamer. Came into Wellington. They had Ford had a 6-story building in Courtney Place. Hope Gibbons.
Oh, yes.
They started at the top, and as they came down, they put bits on it. To the man at the bottom, put a battery in it, put the fuel in it, and drove it out the door and sold it. And it was first sold by the what was it, Ford Sales and Service, Courtney Place, on the 1st of April 1933.
Oh, okay, brand new.
Brand new.
Yep.
Yes.
And you would have got ownership papers at that time with it? Like,
Oh yes,
yes.
yep.
Stamp.
That's where I got all the information. Yes. Still got the original ownership papers.
Yeah. So there's only one owner.
I can trace it to the day it was
changed.
I can trace it back to the day it was put together.
Wow.
Yeah, or the day it was made overseas. Yes.
Well, there you go, folks. Some real New Zealand history, and Graham. Thank
Okay.
you very, very much.
Thank you.
Awesome. With me is Don and Judy, and these guys have got a Dale bar Ford, and these were a very, very popular truck back in the day. I just remember seeing old photographs and of these things hauling out one huge native log. Yes, that's right. Every day. And they're a very popular truck, as I said, back in the day. So why have you got this? What's your story with this?
Well, they were ex-military trucks. They were made for the Second World War, and they were surplus at the end. So some of them were sent out to Seaview, to the Ford factory that we saw yesterday, and assembled there. And my father came down from Hastings and drove the home from there.
Wow.
So it's a fairly special vehicle to me.
So they made a 6. If you remember, we were in Nia, I think it was, and the fire brigade had one of these, but it was just a 6 load on a V8.
Yeah, there was a 6-cylinder, but these are all V8.
Yes. So your father had this, and the day he brought that home, you knew what he was doing?
Yes, and it was his orchard truck.
Oh, yeah.
But 2 months after he brought it home, I was born, and so I came home from the home of this.
Oh, wow.
1946.
Sitting on your mother's knee or stuck on
I guess so. I can't remember. That was my first ride in the vehicle.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's amazing. So, as the family grew, was this sort of take you to the town, take you to the pictures vehicle?
Yes, till my sister arrived, this was our family car.
Oh, wow.
So that was about 1952, and Dad got a Zephyr, but until then it was the family car. Yeah. We went on holiday in it, and we went to Tauranga, and to get to Taupo was 4 hours on the old road.
So we went up the hill, no problem at all, I guess.
No, pretty good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, Dad's old car. That's what the program's called, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's amazing. What was your first car?
My first car was M&M.
Really?
Yeah.
But your dad liked Ford.
Yeah, but this was available to me, and I used to take girls out in it, and Judy was one of them.
And you it like this?
Dearly we used to get in the way.
Yeah, cool. So I just remember, they got some old V8 troops here, and that was the way the driver out the window and blew to them.
That's right. Yeah. No seatbelts for those days.
No.
You could do that. You'd probably do that today with a little left job.
One of our daughters went to the wedding. Her wedding,
Streamers and all.
Yeah. It wasn't road legal then, but it had all the ribbons on it. So I thought it'd be a pretty mean cop that pulled us up and gave us a ticket. So, with a blushing bride in the cab.
Good on you, Tom.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yes, good. Thank you.
All right, there you go, folks. The old jail bathroom.